another episode of Senior and Youth Cooking. And today's class we're going to be making a nice classical recipe called shepherd's pie. A lot of you are probably familiar with it, and today it's a nice chilly day and it's like comfort food, so we're still utilizing our garden vegetables. And today we're taking advantage of these beautiful carrots. I'm not using all those carrots, but I just want to showcase these gorgeous carrots that come out of a garden. A good friend of mine gave them to me. And she's like, what do I do with all these carrots? And I was like, well, we're gonna use them in shepherd's pie. So today we're making a classical shepherd's pie using ground beef. Normally you can use, typically they call for lamb, but it's a lot cheaper, it's more affordable, easy access to getting ground beef. So I have some nice lean ground beef here that we're gonna be using. And as you can see on my mise en place ready, I went ahead and kind of did a little bit of prep work for you already. I peeled and cut the potatoes, but I do want to talk about that as well before we get started. And that's already in a pot, already peeled and cut up for you. No sense of sitting here watching me peel potatoes. But I do want to say that it is chilling in cold water, our potatoes, and they're all uniform cut, nice 1-inch cubes. So that way everything cooks uniform. And the reason why we start our potatoes in cold water is because we want it to cook evenly. We don't want mushy potatoes on the outside and not cooked on the inside, because when we mash them, we want them all to be nice and cooked all the way throughout. So once I get going with everything, I'm gonna turn the potatoes on, and by the time I'm done mixing up our shepherd's pie, we're gonna bake it off in the oven, and then there you will have a nice dinner and for your family to enjoy. Nice comfort food. It'll fill you up with all these beautiful, ingredients that we have before us. So let's go ahead and get started. So first I'm gonna chop up some vegetables, and then I'll go ahead and ground our meat. So let me get this stuff out of the way so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I know you guys are familiar with how to cut a carrot, but I just want to show you anyway. These gorgeous carrots are so sweet from the garden. I'm making carrot cake. I've been doing a little bit of everything, jarring them, just cutting them up and making candied carrots as a side dish. So there's so many things that you could do with all your garden vegetables. So don't ever think that you have too much of anything, because you don't. So I got my carrot going. Just gonna give him a nice chop. Cut off his ends. Then I like to cut them in half. And this is gonna go in our shepherd's pie. So I'm only gonna use one. And like I said, I want everything uniform, so nice little, uniform cuts. Then I'll cut up my onion and our garlic. And we'll get all these guys put into our shepherd's pie. We'll saute off some onions to start. And then we'll go ahead and, once everything's cooked off a little bit, we'll start our meat. Chop this guy up now. Nice little uniform cuts. Nice little bite sizes. Chop up our onion. You can use about 1 onion to this recipe. Then I do have some frozen peas that we'll add in the end. And we're gonna make a nice little gravy for this. I'll show you how to do that as well. And you see all these lovely, oh, I missed a guy. All these lovely ingredients once they get going. We will get them sauteed off in the frying pan. Before I say that, I should turn it on and get it preheated. Just like a medium, almost a medium heat. By the time I'm done chopping up this onion, we'll go ahead with that. This meal doesn't even take a whole lot. It takes about 15 minutes to prepare and about a half hour to cook. So you're looking at like a nice, almost a half-hour meal, not including, all the cooking time. This recipe is really easy. You can actually only cook it for like 20 minutes. You don't have to do the whole, half hour. You just want to make sure that your potatoes get browned on top, and that's going to help, the butter's going to help do that. So there you have that. Get my garlic chopped up. Clean as you go. Get out of my way. Give them a nice smash. Makes them easy to peel. Look at that, perfect. And give him a chop. So we're gonna start off with our onions, and then once those cook up a little bit, in a couple of minutes, we'll add our garlic, because we don't want the garlic to burn. And then we'll go ahead with our carrots, and then we'll get that meat in there and cook that up. So let me just take this over to our lovely frying pan. Got some oil here, just to get the onions get going here. Don't need a whole lot, of like a tablespoon. I'm just gonna add not my carrots, my onions first. These guys in there, get those nice and translucent in color. You don't want them caramelized. You just want a nice little saute. And then I'll wait for this. Then I think I'm going to chop up another half onion, just because I want a little bit more. So now you guys get to watch me cut an onion again. Nobody wants to see me cut potatoes. That's so boring. You've done one, you've done 100. All right, so now I'm gonna grab my little ladle here and my spoon. As our onions are kind of getting heated up here a little bit, we'll just get those cooked off for a little bit, a couple minutes. As you can see, the potatoes are on. I got them on high now. So it's cold water, nice uniform cuts. I've got about maybe 5 potatoes in there to do a baking dish. So I'm gonna put the lid on and get that going. Once that gets going, these will cook for about 15 minutes. By the time our meat's done, all that's gonna be done at the same time, and then we're gonna go ahead and do the, layer out our casserole here with our 9x13 baking dish. And we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've added my little bit of garlic, and I'm just gonna cook that off for a minute and go on with my carrots now. And I'm just gonna let those cook for a couple minutes. And then once that gets going, I'm just gonna add our ground beef. Get that out of there. Now I've let my ground beef, I've already vacuum sealed my beef, and I've let it come to room temperature for about 20 minutes, just so it's not cold. So I'm gonna go in with all of that. There's about 2 pounds in here. So I'm gonna cook that in there. Get in there. And then I'm gonna break that up with my heat resistant little spatula. This is my little cruncher guy. Plus the little holes takes out the grease, but this is lean beef, so we're not gonna have too much grease left over. And I say grease, I mean fat flavor from the beef, because there's a little bit of fat in there. That's all that lean beef means, is just it has a little bit of fatness to cook the beef, and that gives it flavor, right? But we're not looking for a whole lot. And lamb is a nice tender cut of meat too, so, but this is just a nice affordable. So we're just gonna break all that up, cook it together. This is a nice little flavor base for the shepherd's pie. And then once this beef is cooked, we're gonna add some flour, and we're gonna thicken it up a little bit with some gravy. And then that, my friends, I'll show you how to mash the potatoes, and then we're gonna put this thing together. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I've already got some of our freshly dried up fresh herbs that I'm throwing in there, some rosemary, some thyme, and some good old S&P, just a little bit. Just want to season it up a little with some fresh herbs and freshly ground pepper. We're going to go ahead and, as you can see, the beef is pretty much cooked. All my fat is rendered off and all the liquid's gone and absorbed. So my beef is nice and cooked. It's been about, 15, 20 minutes, not even. And now I'm going to add my beef stock that I got here. Oh no, first the flour. About maybe a tablespoon of flour. Just going to sprinkle that evenly. And this is going to thicken up your stock when we add it. So we just want to cook off that flour for a minute. Just get it nice and mixed up. Make sure you cook off all that flour and that starch. That way you don't have lumps in your, your gravy, if you will. Just cook that for a quick minute. Nice and mixed up in there. And then this will thicken up this little, got about 3/4 of a cup of stock, beef stock. If you want to use chicken, go ahead. I'd say this is vegetarian, but it's totally not, thanks to our meat. So there, we're just going to add that. We'll just let that cook down and simmer and thicken up a little. Give a nice little stir. And this is going to be a nice little flavor based for your shepherd's pie. And that's almost done. Another 5 minutes of this simmering, and we're going to go ahead with our potatoes. All right, so now you see our potatoes have been cooked and they're still nice and hot. I just kind of gave them, that means my oven's ready. So we're almost ready here. My gravy's all been mixed in there. And now we're gonna go ahead and mash our potatoes. I like to use a hand masher when I do this, just so I can control the consistency of my mashed potato. So I got about a 1/4 cup of butter. Just gonna toss that in there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mix that up before I add anything else. I like to, get that good old arm workout. Some people like to use a mixer and whip their potatoes, but I like to call them mashed potatoes for a reason, using a hand masher. And this way you're not kind of making the potato tough. It's nice and fluffy when you're doing this. You'll have a little bit of lumps and chunks, but nothing that'll hurt you. So once you got them kind of halfway mashed, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of milk, about a 1/4 cup, same with our butter, so it's kind of even. Not gonna use it all. And then I'll go ahead and mash that up. And then, once that's incorporated, I like to add sour cream and a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese to this lovely mashed potato. And then of course, salt and pepper. So in with my sour cream. This just gives it that nice, rich, delicious flavor to your mashed potato. Forgive my finger. All right, give that a mash. As you can see, your potatoes are almost completely mashed at this point. I didn't have to whip them. Just let me, you can see that they're nice and mashed. Nice and smooth almost. I'm gonna go ahead with my cheese now. Fresh Parmesan, some freshly ground pepper. You could do this to your taste. I just add a little bit, enough to season them. And of course some salt. Like about a 1/4 teaspoon. And then once again, give that a quick mash, combine everything. And that's pretty much your final step in your mashed potatoes. Now I'm gonna go ahead and assemble this. But instead of just putting the mashed potato onto our shepherd's pie meat mixture, I'm going to be fancy and use my little star tip piping bag. So I'm gonna let this cool off just for a little bit because I don't want it to kind of melt the bag. And there you have it. If you want to at this point taste your potatoes, if there's anything that you feel you need to add at this point, go ahead and do that. But I think I can trust my own judgment. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and assemble our meat mixture. You can see this beautiful gravy in here. So I'm just going to put this on the bottom of our casserole dish. You don't even have to grease your dish at this point. This has enough in there that you don't need to do that. You have enough fat in here. It ain't going to stick. Get all that goodness and just spread the love. All right. And normally people would take their mashed potatoes and just kind of spoon it on there, but we're gonna do some little piping. If you have a piping bag and you want to have fun piping, good way to practice. I like to give it a little shake. Even her out, because it's all about presentation, right? And I forgot to add my peas. It's all right. I have frozen peas, which is fine because they're nice and frozen. I'm just gonna sprinkle them and then I'll mix them. They'll unfroze in 1 minute, or unfreeze. There you have it. Sorry guys, always missteps along the way, but there you have it. Just gives it a nice color, right? And of course you're eating all your vegetables, and the kids will probably never notice when the potatoes are on here that you have peas in their shepherd's pie. So there we go. Okay. Yeah. Let me put something to put these in. I think I could do it by hand. So I'm just gonna fill my bag. I'll start off with halfway because it's a little hot still. All right, so I'm just gonna simply go ahead and just pipe some nice rosettes. It's very hot. Should let it cool off, but for time's sake, I'm just gonna take the sacrifice for you guys. And I'm just gonna work my way all the way down the dish. right, so there you have your shepherd's pie. You can see that the nice browning from the oven browned up the potatoes just so pretty. And now you can just enjoy with a nice side salad to this or some bread. And there you have a nice meal that's cooked within a half hour, nice and affordable, still utilizing your vegetable garden vegetables, and enjoy. Until next time.